This is Tuesday, day 6 of the Episcopal Church's General Convention. Just to show you what it feels like before we actually began this shoot, I had to ask Joe Toma to tell me what day it was. That's what it feels like, basically, to be in meetings all day, from early in the morning until late at night, day after day, and sort of grabbing lunch where you can, but eating, quite honestly, a whole lot of fruit and granola bars. Somebody has sent me an email specifically asking me about what it's like in the aftermath of House of Bishops approving provisional use of same-sex blessings. First of all, I want to say, since it's approved provisionally, what that does is take it out of the realm of possible per-book revision. That's something that ought to be emphasized very, very clearly. But I want to say to you that for me it produces an extraordinary sense of sadness. But I want you to know that sadness as it relates to prayer, not sadness as it relates to discouragement. And I think that's a very, very important distinction, because discouragement can lead you to the point of just wanting to walk away. And if I know that I am called by God to be here and to stand, that means my responsibility in that time of sadness is to understand that that's something that I have to immediately be taking to God in prayer, and knowing that I can cast that as a burden upon Him and receive from Him the energy needed to be able to serve and serve faithfully in the midst of all of this. So I want you to know that that is my posture. Nothing has changed for me in terms of my commitment to stay within the Episcopal Church, but it does certainly change the landscape about how one thinks about serving as it relates to this environment. By contrast to the controversies of yesterday, stuff today was really quite small by comparison. House of Bishops voted not to sell 815, but they did vote and say we really shouldn't be there anymore. And so we'll see how that unfolds in terms of what happens. Where will the Episcopal Church Center relocate? Will it, and in what timetable? The call not to sell had a lot to do with the fact that they didn't want to give up that very valuable piece of real estate and hope that, in fact, it could be a moneymaker. So that's where that lay. There was also a resolution that was passed by House of Bishops, but sent on to world missions around the whole area of the Anglican Covenant. The content of that resolution said that we declined to take a position, and the one who presented that said very clearly, we're in too many different places as a church to be able to, in fact, craft a resolution that speaks for the whole church as it relates to the covenant. The one thing that was clearly heard in that committee was almost everybody wants to be in and stay in conversation, build relationships, and be a part of the Anglican Covenant. And in fact, yesterday on the floor of House of Bishops, when we were talking about same-sex blessings, one of the points that I made in my own presentation was my concern about the profound effect that it would have on the wider communion, particularly among those people in the communion that suffer persecution. As you know, those who live under totalitarian regimes suffer probably the most of any of us within the Anglican Communion because of the repression and even threats of torture, actual torture, disappearance of people just because they claim to be followers of Jesus Christ. In many of those situations, the things that we have done, particularly around same-sex blessings, are seen as a weapon used to, in fact, delegitimize our Christian faith. And so they, in many ways, are paying a very high price for the decisions that we are making. And I said on the floor of the House of Bishops, that for me was a point of particular grief as I think about what it is that we are doing. So I want to say to you that we're still here. I think we're continuing to make some progress, actually, in some really very, very important areas. And I look forward to continuing to report to you. I am so grateful. I've gotten so many emails and tweets and things expressing both gratitude and prayer for what it is that we are doing. And I look forward to having a conversation with you as a diocese about where we go, what we think about, and how we move forward as continuing constituent members of the Anglican Communion and as the Episcopal Diocese of Central Florida. Thank you very, very much.